From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello everyone, this is 1680 The Crow. I'm Sean Park and this is your 10 o'clock news update. The Public Health Agency of Canada says the number of salmonella cases has now reached 12. The agency says the cases are linked to the Malachit brand of cantaloupes, a type of melon. They also say that this case of salmonella is among the 63 total being investigated in British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, and Labrador. For more on this story and a rundown of what our newsroom is chasing today, here's our producer, Kevin Pontius.
Thanks, Sean. Canada's Food Inspection Agency has already issued multiple food recalls for this brand of melon. The agency also says that across Canada, 17 people have been hospitalized and 1 person has died from salmonella. Now, here is some of what our newsroom is chasing today. How the fog in Vancouver is affecting traffic and airlines, if and when the Burnaby School District will be adding swimming lessons to its curriculum, and we get some thoughts from an elected chief from LNG Canada to get their perspective on how the LNG community is being impacted. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Kevin. The British Columbian government is in court against dozens of healthcare and pharmaceutical companies on the cost of the opioid crisis. The hearing is coming even after the Supreme Court of Canada ruled earlier this month to hear a constitutional challenge by the 4 companies. These companies argue that the law that allows BC to recover the cost on behalf of other government is an overreach. The hearing is expected to last for about 4 weeks, and then a civil trial will be held to check if the companies are liable. Moving on to our international stories, Israel and Hamas agreed to extend the truce for 2 more days. Qatar's foreign ministry spokesman says the announcement came on the last day of the original 4-day truce between the 2 sides. Israel said that it would extend the ceasefire by a day for every 10 additional hostages released by Hamas. United States, Qatar, and Egypt mediated this negotiation for weeks for the ceasefire to come into effect. Vermont man pleaded not guilty in shooting 3 students of Palestinian descent. ABC reporter Cherry Preston has more information on the court hearings.
All rise.
The judge entering the courtroom in Burlington, Vermont, where 48-year-old Jason Eaton entered a not guilty plea to 3 counts of second-degree attempted murder. He's accused of shooting and wounding 3 University of Vermont students, 2 of whom were wearing traditional Palestinian scarves on Saturday night when it happened. Police say Eaton approached them and fired 4 shots, then ran away without saying a word. In court, the judge ordered Eaton held without bail. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
According to Doritos, up to 30% of gamers in the US find crunching noises very distracting while playing online video games. ABC reporter Mike Dobuski has more information about how the company uses artificial intelligence to cut down on the crunch.
Doritos Silent is what the company calls a crunch cancellation technology. The company that made it, Smooth Technology, says it trained an artificial intelligence program on the sound of people munching on Doritos so that it can recognize those sounds and remove them from a voice chat. Tom's Guide editor-in-chief Mike Prospero says it's similar to Google's Audio Magic Eraser feature, which debuted earlier this year.
Google's AI will be able to let you filter those noises out of the video itself.
Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Moving into the weather now, the Environment and Climate Change Canada says a fog advisory is in place for southwestern BC. They warn that there will be a near zero visibility in fog. Also, they say foggy areas can develop slippery surfaces which can be dangerous to travel. The advisory says that visibility will greatly improve by noon, but the fog may redevelop tonight. It's still looking a bit foggy outside right now. Today will be a high of 7 and a low of 1. And the air quality right now is at 1, which is ideal for outdoor activities. The fog is expected to clear up by tomorrow, and there may be a chance of rain. And that's it for the 10 o'clock news update. I'm Sean Park, and this is 1680.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Hello and welcome to For the Record. I'm Kobe Smith, and on today's episode we'll be talking about decolonizing the classrooms at BCIT. Our guest is Shelby Woida, a third-year student in accounting, and is also the Vice President of Equity and Sustainability with BCIT Student Association.
Why do you want to decolonize the classrooms here at BCIT?
So originally, when I kind of started here, I had heard stories from some of my Indigenous peers on their personal experiences in the classrooms, and a lot of them had experienced racism, directly from their instructors, and not just peers as you would think. And then I know some had felt like they were always being asked questions or called out for being the only Indigenous student in the classroom, instead of just recognized as just a regular student. So that kind of brought the idea to me, and then I started noticing words and context in textbooks that are outdated, culturally insensitive, and when I would kind of point these out, it was always met with that there aren't any concerns, nobody could see anything wrong or didn't understand what the issue was. Which didn't resonate very well with me. So then in researching more about what colonialism is, I kind of realizing that it's very much more present around BCIT. For example, in trades buildings, they have full male bathrooms, but they only have one single stall for females, which is also the only accessible bathroom. Which demonstrates how, when things were colonized, they were from, the white man's perspective, and a lot of that still isn't really changing. So I'm also kind of, seeing how it's in all our systemic processes. So, sexism and just, racism that we're experiencing today, the pay gap between males and females, and you see that there's a pay gap between white people and Indigenous people. So I'm hoping that going over this and showing faculty how this is happening, that they can start to change it. And it also comes up in the way that they teach, what their learning objectives are, how they evaluate students, which comes from the requirements of BCIT, which is made from all these systemic issues. And they can't recognize that there are different learning styles and students have different capabilities. And here at BCIT, it's very one way. This is how we do it. If you can't do it this way, too bad. You're not going to succeed. But in real life, it's not like that. And I just don't really feel like a lot of people are given the opportunity. And there's also not a lot of representation as there should be. So yeah, I guess that's why I would like to decolonize classrooms.
So what is the purpose of decolonize the classrooms?
I guess the purpose is for instructors, program heads, associate deans, even BCIT faculty, hire BCIT staff that control, make decisions, to realize that this exists and how it came to be. And then what they can do to try and change it, even just making little changes or understanding or recognizing that the textbooks are sometimes culturally insensitive, or examples that they use or stories that they tell. And it'd be great then if they can kind of see where the representation lacks, or why we don't have certain students want to come here, and how we can change that, just create more opportunity.
So what are your plans to decolonize the classroom?
Okay, so right now my plan is to host a workshop and hopefully kind of implement this so that it continues on, and start the conversation around how colonized our classrooms are. Hey, did you know that this is because of this? Did you know that this is an issue? Are you aware of this? And then hopefully kind of presenting it in a way so that people can kind of really think about why things are how they are, and reflect on it, and then kind of see how they can change. And then I think like provide people with resources and education, understanding that, you know, they can go and ask questions, like they can go seek out Indigenous initiatives. There's a lot of like books out there. They can talk to other programs that have implemented indigenizing education. I think just kind of like start the conversation is going to be the best place to start.
Is there
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
What'd you click on? That would do it. It's basically just gonna like show that until the intro promo or whatever will go.
Okay.
Yeah, but it'll link it.
From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning and welcome to your 10:30 news update. I'm Nathan Maley. The provincial government is set to appear in court today for a class action lawsuit against dozens of healthcare and pharmaceutical companies over the cost of the opioid crisis. The hearing is expected to last about 4 weeks, and a civil trial would then need to be held to determine if the companies are liable. The hearing is continuing even though the Supreme Court of Canada ruled earlier this month that it would hear a constitutional challenge arguing BC's law is an overreach. The battle began in 2018 after the province passed the Opioid Damages and Healthcare Cost Recovery Act. Salmonella numbers are continuing to rise in BC, as the number is now up to 12 who have contracted it. The bacterial disease is believed to have come from cantaloupe. The Public Health Agency of Canada says there are now 63 cases being investigated in BC, Ontario, Quebec, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Canada's Food Inspection Agency has issued multiple food recalls for Malachita brand cantaloupes sold between October 11th and November 14th. They have also issued food recalls for Rudy brand cantaloupes sold between October 10th and November 24th. 17 people have been hospitalized across Canada so far, with one person having died from the illness. An accident just south of Whistler has left 2 adults and a child dead, along with a 4th person injured. The single vehicle crash happened Sunday near on the Sea to Sky Highway. The car was heading northbound before veering off the road and crashing into a tree. The 2 adults and child were pronounced dead at the scene, and a woman was taken to hospital in stable condition. Inspector Robert Dykstra, the officer in charge of the Sea to Sky RCMP, called the accident an absolute tragedy. A full investigation is underway to determine the nature of the crash, but criminality is not expected at this time. A landslide along the section of the Stanley Park seawall has forced the area to close. The park board issued a statement via social media announcing that the stretch between 2nd and 3rd beaches will be inaccessible until December 1st. The landslide happened near Ferguson Point, and remediation will require heavy machinery to solve the issue. The beaches will remain open and will be accessible via parking lots. Park goers are being urged to follow signage and observe detours. Chilliwack Mounties are looking for witnesses following a fatal crash that happened Saturday night. Police said the vehicle went airborne before crashing near Chilliwack Lake Road around 7 p.m. Police, fire, and ambulance first responders all attended the scene, but the driver was pronounced dead there. Anyone who may have witnessed the crash or have information about it are asked to call the detachment to help with the investigation. The Cowichan tribes have voted to take over authority of the child's welfare system for its members. Results published showed 83% of voters were in favor of a new law that prioritizes providing supports to keep families together or places children with relatives or in other Indigenous homes. Negotiator Robert Morales says the First Nation is working with the government on a coordination agreement, trying to lay out what the transition will look like. Morales says they hope to take over by April. LNG Canada had an open house in Burnaby on Sunday. With more, here's our reporter Kobe Smith.
LNG Canada had an open house in Burnaby on Sunday. It gives an opportunity for off-reserve Haisla members to connect with LNG workers and get an update on the project and know what is going on in the Haisla Nation. As off-reserve members get to ask questions about the project and see if there are any job opportunities. LNG is the first ever Indigenous-owned export facility in Canada. LNG has been working closely with Haisla Nation since the project has been approved. With the project being approved, it gives many Haisla members to be able to work in their own hometown. Kobe Smith, 1680, The Crow.
Taking a look at the weather now, it is currently 5 degrees and foggy. A fog advisory is in place as it may be hazardous for travel. Visibility is expected to improve around noon today, but once again could cause issues later tonight. Anyone traveling on the roads is being encouraged to proceed with more caution than usual. And that's all for your 10:30 news update. I'm Nathan Maley, and I'll see you again at 12.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations.
All right.
Get ready, on your toes.
Growing up, like native tournaments was like a big thing for my parents, and they're the ones that showed me how to play soccer.
As much as Penelope Sparrow is on track to reaching new levels of professional soccer, she does not forget where it all came from.
And they'd bring me around until it got to a point where I was 4 years old, and we put on a pair of cleats and started playing. And I'd be there right by their side, learning with them. And that's kind of where I started. And it just kept going on. I got put in a couple leagues growing up, and I just grew to love it. I was about 13, and that's when I knew I truly loved the sport. Like, it was more than just kicking the ball, like you said. It was more of like a family, us together.
So to welcome you to our territory, which is known as UBC, which is known as Vancouver.
For Thompson Nelson, it's important for him to reflect on his roots while mentoring the next generation of Indigenous athletes.
It was just built into our family, and so from the time I could walk, my dad was throwing a soccer ball at me and just go out and have fun. And he was a traveling kind of traditional artist, merchant salesman, so we'd go to all the soccer tournaments across Vancouver Island, as well as over here on the mainland in the Indigenous circuit. So I just grew up around watching it, playing it, and just watching every aspect of it. And so I really fell in love with it, and every morning I'd go and just watch with him.
Both Thompson and Penelope are currently working with Hope and Health, coaching the younger generation at the UBC Thunderbird Stadium.
Hope and Health is a sport for social impact organization that works specifically with Indigenous children and youth and their communities to develop life and leadership skills. It's about creating a program that's accessible within Indigenous communities. As a result of colonization, programs haven't been accessible, nor have they been created that are culturally safe for Indigenous children and youth. So we wanted to close that gap. We really have been working on creating the pathway from those young, talented athletes that aspire to go pro or play to an elite level as high as they can go. When we had the opportunity to consider to take ownership over the League One BC Varsity FC team, it just made total sense that that would allow us to create that piece, which is the semi-professional, high-performance level. So then we can work with our communities as young as 3, 5 as little champions, all the way through their journey to Natsama FC.
Varsity FC was run by UBC Athletics, but Hope and Health purchased the rights and has rebranded as Natsama FC. Perhaps due to a lack of representation, many Indigenous athletes struggle on their journeys, often giving up.
So we're on the Musqueam field, where I grew up to love soccer. I always feel safe here, comfortable. I know when I've had a long day or a hard day, I try to do other things like art, track, all the other sports, but soccer was always something that I couldn't live without. When they think of soccer, they don't think of us, and obviously that's very hard because growing up, that was my FIFA. Going to tournaments, watching it, it was my FIFA. Like, that was my World Cups. Watching them play, it was like other players I couldn't see in TV. And the kind of passion and like support we have, it should be noticed. You don't see any native players, obviously. And it was just a battle. It's like, am I trying, like, am I doing enough? Am I gonna
achieve anything. Like, I didn't see anybody like me. So it was obviously really tough. It's just like, am I there for nothing? Am I doing this all for nothing? Like, there's nobody, I had nobody to like look up to.
One significant kind of moment for me was in high school. I was about 14, and I wasn't, like I said, I was a late bloomer. I was a bit out of shape, I guess, plumper than some of the other boys. And we had these fitness tests to introduce us into the high performance leagues, like for example, like NOTSMA and like UVic, the Union Upton University. And I failed this fitness test. I guess not failed, but I just didn't do well. So that was really significant for me because I was bullied for that, and it felt pretty bad. So then I did that for a year, and then I came back the next year and nobody recognized me. I slimmed out, I got better. People thought I was an exchange student until I said my name. And then I came back and did that same fitness test, and I was in the top 2. I got like level 12 or something. But I think one of the lowest points, it's not a low point, but something you just kind of live with, was, like I said, my dad passed away when I was 7. And then he was one of my biggest role models. And I'm thankful for my uncle taking over and like raising me as one of his own too. But like not having that male figure to really be like, good job, son, or like, you know, like, saying like, good job, son, or like, everybody had their dads there. And me, after I finished a game, I'd just look into the stands, and sometimes I'd have family, sometimes I wouldn't, and then it'd be like kind of like a little, you sit in the change room, you give yourself like a little self vibe, or like, and sometimes it's just nice to have that outer, I don't know, just a little nudge like, hey, you're doing well, just you're on the right path kind of thing. Because sometimes you just don't know, you get lost along the way, and sometimes you need that little push. But I'm grateful for everybody in my life and who have brought me and raised me to bring me to this opportunity. But in essence of barriers, like there definitely is barriers out there. And it can be a struggle, but you just gotta be proud, like don't fall into negativity. Like if somebody has something bad to say about you, just brush it off and just keep moving forward in a positive way. Because as an Indigenous youth, like we're representing our community, not just ourselves. Like it takes a village to raise a child. Like for me as an example, I had uncles, aunties, coaches, a plethora of people that like help support me. And it really shows like growth and development. And you're just there to represent your people to the best of your abilities and just make whoever proud and yourself proud, more importantly. And then just walk in a good way.
I was sitting in bed, not doing nothing, and then I got the call from Jesse. I was just amazed. It felt like my dreams were coming true. My journey was it felt like it was just a fresh start. Like, I was excited. I couldn't even think. I was speechless. When I was talking to him, I didn't even know what I said. I blacked out. Like, it was just, I was like, oh my God, like, I already know what this is gonna bring, and I'm so excited. Like, I can't even express the emotions.
And when I found out, I was like, okay, this is something cool. This is a big step. Like, let's just go and take the plunge, see what happens. So I came here, and the group was very welcoming, and it was just nice to be in just such a high level. And right away, you could notice the jump. It was faster, people were smarter, the play was just intense. But I loved every minute of it, and I loved seeing if I can rise to the challenge. Oh, what a finish, all right. And when I got that call to come back for more tryouts, and then that final assessment that I made the squad, it was over the moon. I didn't really know how to like react. I was on the ferry trying not to like laugh out loud. I had this like big smirk because I was sitting next to people I didn't know, and I was like, I had to go outside and just like take a breath of fresh air. But it was just awesome, just because just for a moment of like, that's it, this is a big moment just to like prove Indigenous players have capabilities and opportunities to show talent, because there's a lot that fall through the cracks that just don't get that opportunity. And sometimes all you just need is that one, or even that one person that believes in you. And I'm hoping this platform of NOTSMA, and even me just being here, will show other Indigenous youth and other players that you can do it. You just dedication, hard work, and lots of just faith, and just reaching out to, like putting yourself out there, and not being afraid of like the racial barriers or like people doubting you that you can't do it.
For sure. Nice dribbling. Almost. We have a wide. We've been hidden for a long time, overlooked. We don't really get noticed like this, and such an opportunity like this, I can't hold back, express how I play, show how I play. Like, playing with like First Nations, it's a different game.
To date, Notsamont FC has signed 11 Indigenous players across the men's and women's teams, including 5 Indigenous assistant coaches. Their inaugural season begins April 29th at Swangard Stadium.
One, two, three.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello everyone, welcome back. This is 1680 The Crow. I'm Sean Park and this is your 11 o'clock news update. Domestic abuse shelters in Alberta report a 10-year high in the number of calls for help. The Alberta Council of Women's Shelters say that shelters answered over 59,000 calls for help based on their latest report. The report also says there's another 10-year high of forced sex and strangulation, which the council says increases the risk of being killed by 750%. The council's report says they could not house another 30,000 requests for admission due to the lack of shelter space and growing complex needs. They say this number is the highest they've seen in the past decade. Moving on to international stories, Elma Abraham is an 84-year-old former hostage. She is still in critical condition after a day she was released from Hamas captivity. The Associated Press says Abraham's son says her mother had a chronic condition but was healthy before being taken away by Hamas.
Because my mother left at home when she was in a good condition, and she was functioning, and she was well, and we are expected for some totally different end. Right now, she's struggling for her life.
The International Committee of the Red Cross says it is currently unable to deliver medicine directly to hostage despite family members' requests. The U.S. President Joe Biden plans to skip the UN climate talks and the previously pledged visit to Africa. The upcoming climate talk is being planned in Dubai, where the Vatican and over 200 countries' heads of state and diplomats will be present. White House officials say the Biden administration is sending a climate team, including a special envoy, an advisor, and a clean energy advisor. Back to Canadian stories. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says the province will create 2 more Toronto highways to help reduce the city's financial pressures. The 2 levels of government has been working on a new deal for the city, but it is currently facing a $1.5 billion deficit. The Canadian Press has more information about Doug Ford's announcement.
The deal will provide the city with up to $1.2 billion in new operating supports over the next 3 years. This includes money to fund new homeless shelters and beds, to get more police officers patrolling the TTC to keep it safe, and to help bring the Finch West and Eglinton Crosstown projects online.
Ford says the Gardiner Expressway and Don Valley Parkway will not be tolled by the province. A new poll by the MNPLMP, an accounting and business firm, suggests that half of Canadians say they are staying home to save money. Grant Bazian is the president of MNP Ltd. He says inflation and interest rates affect more than just the finances. He says the high inflation and interest rates also significantly affect people's mental health. The poll suggests that about 1 in 5 describe a sense of social isolation or loneliness due to the high interest rates and inflation. A fog warning has been issued for the Lower Mainland for almost the past week. It unusually shows up from time to time. Our reporter Jerison Oratian explores the impact of the fog.
The current fog outside is visible since last night and should disappear by noon today. However, it will come back tonight and the process repeats again. While this type of fog happens occasionally in the Lower Mainland, it is unusual for it to happen almost every day. The fog can lead to poor visibility, requiring car headlights to be turned on while on the road. Flights arriving at YVR Airport can be delayed because it will be hard for pilots to land as well as safety reasons. Environment Canada defines fog as minute water droplets suspended in the air or near the surface of the earth. Jerison Rashawn, 1680, The Crow.
Looking at the weather now, it's still looking a bit foggy outside right now, but they're now starting to clear up. The fog is expected to clear up by tomorrow, and there may be a chance of rain. And that's it for the 11 o'clock news update. I'm Sean Park, and this is 1680.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.